Most cases when we've got a ultra-terrestrial alien UFO connection, we have some type of craft or strange lights or strange portals or something being sighted somewhere. What was interesting with this case, we had actual contact with some type of entities and or creatures coming out of these crafts. Also, we have close eyewitness sightings right over their homes, right over their backyards of these craft. Pay close attention as our witness describes something the uncle was beating up on his front steps. Obviously, he beat something up. Something happened during the time of these sightings, and we have this unmarked Escalade vehicle with some type of universal soldier wearing 6 guns retrieving something from this uncle's house, quite possibly one of the occupants and or bioengineered creatures turned loose from the craft. So this was what was the date, around the 3rd?
I would say like the end of March.
The end of March?
The beginning of the month.
The beginning of April.
Yeah. All started here when I was doing homework, studying for my botany class and my social psychology. Studying late, me and my girl and her son staying here in the Hogan. We noticed that the lights on the right side right here in this window was making some weird lights, dimming really low, dimming really bright. And then it started moving to the left side of the window here. And it started dimming as it did on this side. And there's no lights absolutely on this side, no street lights, nothing where the light would have came through.
This is all we would have on right here. This lamp.
Just that lamp?
Yeah, just that lamp. We would only have that one on.
And the lamp that's on top of you right there, at different times, whenever this object was flying around, that wherever it was flying, it seemed like it was falling.
Like magnet.
Oh, really?
It was like
So
falling.
like it was magnetized wherever the craft went, the lamp
I thought it
went.
was weird and strange, and scary at the same time, but my girl was the only one that had the audacity to get up and to look outside the window through there. And she's the one that noticed the beams beaming from downwards from up above.
So there was focused light coming from the crafts, focused light on the ground then.
Kind of like it was beaming down, and wherever it was at, the light was beaming off of it, and wherever it circled, you could see it.
Almost like they were looking for something, maybe?
Kind of like just circling.
Yeah. And you could just see like the shadow of the window frames, and like the glare to the wall, it would move, that shadow would move this way, and like people are probably driving by, and then there's nobody that would do drive around, or I mean that light, when I was looking out this window, was like beaming downwards, like.
And you actually saw the craft?
After it followed us to the house.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we took everything after we heard the noise over there. We took everything. We took the top of our bed, everything. We took it to the house, and it seemed like it got worse, huh?
That's what we had visited by 2 crafts.
There was like 2 aircrafts. I mean, we're familiar with everything that flies by. We're like way up here, so this thing that was hovering behind the kitchen or behind the house, and that's where our kitchen window is. And this thing was like beaming through so bright. I'm like, there is no street light. There is nobody like that out there. And as I peeked out to see those lights that were coming in, they're like cylinders, like each one beaming through each one. They're like cylinders. They're not just like regular headlights, like our headlights. They're like honeycombs, like beaming through each one so bright. And you can just see it just hovering right there, just hovering.
And did you say they were disc-shaped?
That I seen out from his mother's window, and I seen that one flying clearly up in the sky on that side of the sky this way, and it was flying at an angle. I seen the shape of it. I seen the lights. They were rotating.
So it was cylindrical spinning type
Yes,
deal.
it was spinning, and then the lights were rotating, then the
Okay.
aircraft was like kind of like at an angle to where I actually did see the whole shape of it.
So, I mean, would you say a typical flying saucer then, of that nature? Okay.
I never seen anything like it.
Amazing. And then was it before the craft showed up, that's when you heard all the gunfire? Did that happen first, or was that happening
The
while?
gunfire that we heard, me and my girl, my dad, and my son, we noticed 3 lights out this window. And as we were looking out there, we seen 3 lights that were like on top of the tree lines. And they were moving like this, like. And the center one was the one that was red, huh, baby? And my dad went out, my son went out. They got in the truck, and as they left, like 10, 20 seconds as they left, we're standing out there, and we noticed the gunshots. Kind of like I said, went from handguns. From handguns, they probably went to the back of the police vehicle and grabbed their heavy item artillery, like machine guns or M16, but that's what it sounded like to me. Until I heard that one loud noise, like a minigun, that's when I kind of snapped and I got paranoid about the noise, and we could feel basically
In the ground, like you can
like,
tell they're shooting. And
You could feel like the vibrations from...
You could feel it, yeah, on the floor.
So if they had a minigun, it would probably have to be on some kind of platform to make the ground shake.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like Arnold Schwarzenegger with a minigun, you know, going through the jungle. This thing was probably mounted on some type of platform.
On a vehicle, or
Yeah.
even coming from the spacecraft itself, I don't know. But as the sounds of those gunshots were going off, we could hear like a domino effect coming from the direction where the noise we heard from the guns. Neighbors, their dogs were barking. Soon later, we could hear the neighbors using their own guns.
Okay, so these craft were getting shot at by whoever.
Yeah.
And neighbors. Okay.
The sound was coming down like this, like a domino effect, and eventually it was coming closer. So I started getting my guns together and bullets, and trying to get my mom disconnected, but she was hooked up to a dialysis machine. So we stayed, and we decided to, whatever comes, but the night was even freakier because as the dogs were barking, everything was going on. My uncle next door to the left of us here, he was shouting out, like, "Dad, I need you over here, something's knocking on the window." And seconds after that, he was turning off all his lights. We saw him walking around just with the blue flashlight, walking around his house and checking the perimeter. And all of a sudden we noticed that the porch light came on. As we noticed the porch light came on, me and my girl noticed a screech like I've never heard before in my life. I'm 35 years old. Never heard anything scream like the way my uncle was beating up something on the porch. Repeatedly just beating up like to death, to where he was scared, probably to where he didn't want whatever he was beating up not to come alive, but to come back.
And then, how much later after that did the police finally show up?
The police showed up after we were visited by these aircrafts. They were kind of like bullying us around, flying around in front of my house, hovering on top, hovering behind the back of the house, on the trees, making like a little, like it was a little hurricane within that little area where we lived at, on top of my mom's house and around.
Yeah, and we're going to go look at those trees again where they were just pushed down and the branches dug holes into the ground. So the down pressure from these craft must have been incredible.
It was powerful, and it was pretty rowdy with it, and scary at the same time. Just like I was saying, I didn't have the audacity to get up or even try to confront what was outside. I was basically just trying to protect my family, my loved ones. But on her hand, she's the one that really seen what was flying around. I could just see the shadows and how it was flying. You could hear which way it was going from the back of the house
Did those discs have any particular color? Were they silver? Or were they just lit up, just look like spinning discs?
I don't think they just have one light. I think they have more than one color.
Okay.
Of the lights that they have on whatever that's flying.
Mhm.
I don't think there's just one light on there. I think there's like multiple colors, there's like red, sometimes it's like green or blue or something, and then a clear, like bright blue.
Okay.
To what I've seen, it kind of looked like a jewelry guy that's into his diamonds, picking up a little magnifying glass and spinning that diamond.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kind of like I seen from a distance.
Now, at one point you said you had your rifle and the barrel got smoking hot.
Correct.
And you didn't fire it or anything. It just got hot in your hand and you had to put it down.
It's just been in my hand the whole time. And my girl was the one that noticed it in the house and how there was like red beams coming around, and it was, to me it was like a SWAT team or something outside the house, but to how I can't figure out is how those beams were actually coming through the blinds or even through the walls or even on top. But I know as I was holding my AK, I could feel my hand burning on the back of here. I got nerve damage, I can't really feel anything, but I felt my whole hand basically get hot to where I felt the barrel of the AK just get extremely hot to where I just lay it on my lap.
Now let's jump forward a little bit. When the state police got here, how many squad cars came out?
I would say about 4 state cops.
Really? Did they all come in their own vehicles?
Yes, sir. All state police cars.
Okay.
Black, white. And one particular one was odd, and when it came to what I looked at, it kind of looked like it was an Escalade with a really back-end trunk. But his vehicle was like really, like he was the top dog, and he didn't ask questions. But he was eavesdropping on what we were telling the police, what was flying around.
Now, did he have any insignia on the uniform he was wearing?
What he was wearing was different from the police, the state police. And to what I seen him wearing, 2 guns on the ankles, 2 on his hip, 2 on the side of him. And
So he's got 6 guns on him?
Correct.
Wow.
Extra long clips that I never seen even on a police officer, even a state cop. I mean,
Now, the state police seemed to know who this guy was,
they
obviously?
didn't know his name, who he was. They couldn't even keep in contact with him by radio, but they're keeping in contact through sound, I guess you could say, like burp, 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 like, I don't know, it's signifying like, hey, I need some people over here. But what was weird about it is that one police officer was telling his other buddies, like, hey, we don't know what he needs, but it sounds like he needs some assistance. But he was like, we can't radio him, he can't radio us. That's when I thought it was pretty odd. And the way this guy was looking, he looked like a universal soldier.
Yeah, that's what you're telling me. And did he have a minigun too, or did he just have a badass machine gun?
He had a nice rifle in his vehicle that I've never seen. Something, I don't know if you want to call it an M4, with maybe a grenade launcher under, just sitting in his vehicle. But
this guy's packing some heat, and there's
heat.
No insignia on his uniform.
No patches, just all like a SWAT team.
And it was like a black Escalade then.
Kind of like the vest you got there, but he was just like really decked out, and just his armor was like just high performance, and his clips were extra long.
So now we go back to the uncle. The uncle's beating something down on his porch. He's yelling for you to help him, or...
What was strange was he was actually telling me to shoot his direction. And I was like, no, so I just shot in the air about 4 or 5 times quickly, and grabbed the gauge and shot that one time.
Now this universal soldier, once you described the screams that you heard
the howl
from the creature or whatever it was he was beating up, then he left you guys and he went right over to your uncle's house.
Correct.
And what he had, like some kind of cylinder or refrigeration thing?
Correct. Probably more about maybe the half size of that little
Maybe a little
cage
longer.
canal for the dog.
So a little bigger than this, like kennel?
In the center of it, it also had like a circle thing where you would actually have to push these buttons in order to open what was in it.
Okay.
When he opened it up to show these other officers, it was basically like liquid nitrogen or something,
Okay,
something that was
some kind of
cold,
cryogenics,
something to
something.
preserve something that they were maybe looking for to keep it from decaying or getting old, to keep the body fresh. That's one thing I noticed that was weird. And how this police officer had everything in his vehicle, but he never asked us no questions. He didn't ask my girlfriend any questions. But once I got to the point and I made the sound of the creature, what it sounded like, he immediately got in his car and
Straight to your uncle's house, huh?
Straight
Now,
there.
obviously then, did he retrieve something from your uncle's premise?
I
over
would
there?
think so, because
He brought
it took
something
about
back?
10 minutes, and not only that, one state officer that took off here, 3 of them stayed here. That officer that came back, I don't know how he locked his keys in his vehicle, but he might have been scared.
He might have been a little scared, huh?
Something, but then all of a sudden, those other officers started going to the back of this vehicle. Really nice. It was, to me, it was like an Escalade, something that was big and comfortable, I guess you could say. Really high tech. This police officer's ride had lights that could light up a whole area.
So he had some big KC lights going on and all this other
No,
stuff.
and better than those lights. I mean, they were on top of his vehicle, on the side, even on his mirror.
I just find it, you know, I'm almost thinking that guy had to have been in the area looking for something.
And he
Yeah.
was just in the right area, and he was just eavesdropping on how I felt, putting things together, and how my girlfriend was panicking. She called like the 911 like 4 or 5 times, trying to get officers out here.
Oh, I bet it's really frightening.
It was scary. I mean, it was so scary to where I just wanted anybody out here, to where I even called the fire truck.
That's so
how
sad.
scared I
Oh,
was.
my
I was like,
goodness.
I think they're starting a fire. I smell smoke. I mean, I had to just say that so we could have somebody over here right away. I'm like,
Yeah.
there is something out there.
That's the first ones that came up was the fire truck. But they came up and all they said, what headlights? I was like, what? That's all
Like
you can see,
headlights. You just seen
headlights.
headlights on your house.
They saw headlights on your
That's what
house.
they said,
That's what they
yeah.
So the fire department said when they were pulling up, they saw lights on top of your house.
Correct.
They were like, it's
Okay.
headlights.
They said it was
And what
over.
was strange was that they just took off right away before the cops
Weird.
even got here.
So you were
Like-
parking your cars on your roof over, you know, okay, I mean,
Right.
that makes a lot of sense.
Really.
Oh, wow.
They left, but these other officers came quick, and the other officer came last, but like I was saying, the state cops were asking us questions. We even showed footages to the cops of what we're seeing. But that one officer, he wasn't into the footages at all. He was just wanting to hear what he wanted to hear, I think.
So I tell you what, do you think he retrieved something and put it in that
Most
cryogenic?
definitely, because when
Okay.
he came, all these other officers were putting their cameras out. Oh, man, they were taking pictures of it.
Oh, man, but they wouldn't let you see what it
They wouldn't
was?
even let us get close, and that dude that was in the Universal Soldier, I don't even think he was talking the whole time. All he did was just like hand signals to those other officers, and they came. He opened the back, in the center of this little thing he pulled out. It must have been light enough or something for him just to grab real easy and just pull it out, and hit some buttons, it opened up. And
Your uncle probably beat up an alien grave.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know what it is, something, but I know the screeching cry came.
Yeah, it was beaming from there. And
So just a tiny little crack in the roof, and those lights were so bright that were coming through.
And then like the door too, because we would have his Jeep parked just like this right outside, like pointing that way because it's so dark that way. And then we kept hearing noises, and he's like, should I hit the Jeep lights on? And then I was like, yeah. And we're so quiet, and then on this door, when you close it, you can see like the outlining of the headlights. So this thing that was out there, I mean, it's not taller than the doorknob, the shadow.
Right.
It's like the doorknob on down. It's whatever it is, it's not tall. Because we were like, something is out there. And this thing looked like it picked up something and then it went back up. And then before that, we kept hearing like chewing sounds, like the way a creature chews on those bones. I mean, we kept hearing like little chewing sounds on those bones, and I'm like, what is that? And before I seen the lights, before I seen where the lights were really coming from, I was like so curious. I was like, I really need to find out. I really want to know what's making that light from on top of the hogan. And I would peek through this window, and he's like right behind me with his gauge. He's like right behind me. And it's crazy. It's like I barely peek, and then I'm like, it's up there. And then I would close it, and then I would like tiptoe to the door, and then he would be pointing right towards the door. He's like, get the heck out of my way. So it's like I'm like trying to listen, and I have to lean on the door like to listen, and you can hear something like just barely like little feet like
little feet running around
right here.
Okay.
If you close the door, you can see like a little gap of light coming in. You can't get that at night.
Yeah.
Those tracks are gone now, but you had like, they look like little bigger than like turkey tracks. Only
Yeah, so
turkey trails.
after when we just left the hogan, I mean, we panicked so bad to where we were dropping everything, because everything was here, our guns, flashlights and whatnot. After all the commotion, the gunshots and everything, we just went back to the house. We haven't, it's been like, what, 3 weeks almost now? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Since we haven't come back to the hogan. So when we moved over there and stayed over there, this thing followed us over there. And
that's when you realized you had two craft, was when you got next door?
I felt like it got kind of worse or something, I don't know.
All black color, gray, black, I can't tell. But I could see it in the rim. My girl's like, come on, look at it.
So you're thinking the craft was big enough to block out both windows over the hogan, as far as...
That's one thing I can't explain is how dark it got in there. Like somebody just completely put something on both windows at one time. And it just got completely black. I couldn't even see my girlfriend next to me. But it's pretty amazing what's around here, I guess you could say. Frightening, but...
Well, and then the next day you find those Sasquatch prints.
They're just right up in here. And
really?
I looked out there in the field to look for them, because we heard them whoop, whoop over here twice. And this whole area right here was just like a family all the way through here, right through here. And my opinion is I think they turned around that little farm thing right there, antique.
Well, down where we're camped, you know, like I said, we've got about 3 weeks of tracks going on, so I'm not going to tie the furry people in with extraterrestrial or ultra-terrestrial at this time, but that's interesting that they, you know, you lived there all your life and never had tracks go through your front yard before.
Never seen a thing fly around, never seen tracks like that before. And right now, everything's turned the table now.
Yeah, well, the unknown is frightening at first. It really is frightening. So the craft was above this tree.
Yeah, they said the house is just further on in the distance over there, maybe 30 feet or so. They said that it was hovering over these bushes here. And as we came to investigate, I'd noticed right down here, if I pick up this branch, you see you got that digging motion, and it looked like it was coming down. Typical wind wouldn't
dig a hole. Yeah,
wouldn't generally do that to that magnitude. And it looked like it was in a digging force. You could see where it started here and dug up a pile here. And then further on, looking around, you can see dig pile.
Wow. Boy, there was some incredible force on top of these trees, and the limbs are all pushed down pretty low now.
They're all pretty pushed down. You can see where it's all flattened out. And then on the other side of the tree, there's nothing. But then you can look at this small tree here. It doesn't look like a whole lot, but it had hit this branch here. Same thing, coming and digging and piling right here, starting from there and pushing it. So if it was a wind situation, we would have
a different pattern,
digging on the other side, but it's centered in this area.
So this print we're looking at here, we're very fortunate to have found it. This is what I've had described to me as alien gray prints, and that next morning when you got up, those prints were everywhere?
Everywhere in front of the yard.
Everywhere. Just like hundreds of them.
I would say about 20, 30, like
So they ran all over the place.
Everywhere.
Now they got out on the roof of the main house. That's where you heard the footsteps first.
Yeah.
When the craft was above you.
Exactly.
Okay. In all your years of tracking and hunting and being out here in the great outdoors, have you ever seen a print like that before?
I've never seen a print like that before.
That's weird.
That's really weird.
We have to look up, I've seen them before, but I've seen pictures of them, and it's been around where there's been ultra-terrestrial alien type activity.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, so we'll have to do some more research on those tracks.
For sure.
See how